Good evening. I'm Mitch Matterson, and this is the Channel 3 News at 6. Later tonight, Rodney T. Nato will bring us up to date on the future of this fantastic weather we've been having. But first, our top story. America, the British? Reports out of northwest Indiana indicate that Allison Bazarko, an American through and through, has wed Gavin Kirk, British gentleman. The entire Channel 3 News team is covering this fateful day. To understand the significance of this occasion, we need to dig deep into their origins and the events that unfolded to bring these two together. We go now to Jeffrey Washington, reporting live from Allison's childhood home. Jeffrey!
Yes, thank you, Mitch. I stand here outside the home where Allison grew up in Highland, Indiana, a peaceful community known mainly for its salt-of-the-earth folks. It is here where she grew up and enjoyed her childhood, quote, for the most part, end quote. And who can blame her as she was showered with love from proud parents Gail and Larry, brother Jeff, and sister Tracy. I was able to catch up with that very sister, the maid of honor, earlier today.
I think Allison had a great 14 months until I came along. After that, everything changed. She was no longer the center of attention, and it was all about me. It wasn't long before she became the subject of sibling torture. You see, in a typical family, I would have been at the bottom of the hierarchy. But we weren't her typical family. I picked on her without remorse. Tickling and hitting were everyday activities with little or no retaliation. I don't know why I did it, but for me it was fun. Don't get me wrong, I did and do love her, but I can't help thinking that I had something to do with her growing up to become the strong, independent woman that she is today.
Touching. Live here in Highland, Indiana, I am Jeffrey Washington. Back to you, Mitch.
Jeffrey, thank you for that indelible report. We appreciate all your hard work in the field. Perhaps we'll hear from you later. I'm hearing now that we have Thomas Queenmother III live from Britain for an update on Gavin. Thomas, are you there? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Mitch. I can hear you loud and clear. Bit of info on Gavin. He grew up in Matlock, Derbyshire, right here in England, in an area with pretty much everything a lad could want, living right next to a very large expanse of grass called the playing fields. Gavin, his older brother Rob, and his sister Donna were able to play and generally romp around the area, all the while surrounded by beautiful scenery, which Gavin claims he did not appreciate as a child. What Gavin could appreciate was all things scientific. Though not a big fan of school at the time, a self-described geek, he focused his studies on maths and science during his early education and went on to study electronics and applied maths at Nottingham University. I, Thomas Queenmother III, will continue to probe for more information on this side of the pond. Until later, back to you, Mitch.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Thomas, for that informative report. We go now to Chris Beckham over there, the always passionate sports reporter. Chris.
Thank you, Mitch. As we all know, the most important part of anyone's life are the sports they played as kids. Gavin's life is no different. He played cricket. What's cricket?
It's like baseball.
I've never heard of cricket. I've been doing this 10 years. Here, cricket's just bugs.
Yes.
Okay. Gavin played cricket and football, a fine football player he was, and he played midfielder. Is that like a middle linebacker?
No, football to them is soccer. It's soccer.
Well, why didn't they just call it soccer?
Because over there they call it football.
Well, that's ridiculous. Why don't we put soccer at least on the sheet?
We got it from there.
Okay, he did not play football. He played soccer, and he also played rugby. All right, now what is rugby?
It's like football.
So it is football. So he did play football.
No,
I just told him 2 seconds ago that he didn't play football. But he did. He played soccer and football and some baseball sport called cricket. His wife, also very athletic, played the clarinet and the marching band. If we consider clarinet a sport, I quit. How's that sound?
What are you doing? Go, talk.
This just ended, Mitch. Marching band, not a sport. Now we're going to kick it over to entertainment, where that stuff belongs. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris. And now to Susie Vegas with our entertainment news. Susie.
Thank you, Mitch. Allison does have a broad musical background. Starting at the very young age of 10, she picked up the clarinet, which sparked an interest in the performing arts. Her passion grew stronger through high school as she starred in numerous musical productions, and it seemed as though she was destined for superstardom. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, Gavin was picking up his first guitar. His brother Rob, who he considers his biggest influence, was the one to show him the ropes. I had a chance to interview Rob, and here's what he had to say.
Gavin was always a person who was genuinely interested in what I got up to in the bedroom, so I decided to distract him by teaching him to play with his own instrument. Yes, the guitar. My intention was to teach him the guitar just to back me up whilst I played the more complicated pieces and, of course, took all the limelight. Well, this situation lasted for a while, until a piece of music called Cavatina by John Williams, you know, the theme from The Deer Hunter, was heard by me, and I just had to play it. This piece was practiced to perfection in the comfort of our own bedroom. The only problem was that the guitar backing had a very complicated chord progression, and I wanted to play the lead part, a really easy task. Unfortunately for me, this was a bit of my downfall, as Gavin took the piece as a bit of a challenge and rose to it magnificently, making the backing sound completely superb, leaving me, of course, to add the little fiddles and take all the credit. This then led Gavin on to even more complicated and wonderful arrangements. I, by this stage, had discovered the joy of playing records. This was even easier than playing the guitar, and gave me an even bigger street cred. Hey, I was going to be a DJ. I knew at this stage that when Gav finally had lessons with my old guitar teacher and learnt to read music, that my days as top guitarist in the family were about to be toppled, and my goodness, they soon were.
What began as a hobby for Gavin blossomed into a passion once his good friend Levon kick-started his foray into rock. After finishing college, they formed the band Blue Juice, which performed original rock at its finest. It was around this time that Allison moved to Chicago and began singing at Navy Pier with the a cappella group The Navy Pier Players. A fellow member of the group approached Allison to put on a holiday show. Foiled Again has been performing together for over 6 years. This exposure led yet to other opportunities for Allison. To get his start on the Chicago music scene, Gavin answered an ad. Thomas Cray was looking for a musician influenced by bands like the Beatles and Everly Brothers. Gavin was the perfect match. Thomas and Gavin went on to perform at several venues in the Chicagoland area. It was those same venues where Allison gathered the courage to perform music of her own creation. We go live now to Jeffrey Washington outside the Bucktown Pub with an exclusive look at how these two met.
Yes, thanks, Susie, that's right. I'm outside the Bucktown Pub, a vintage, relaxed, no-frills locale that offers a weekly open mic showcase popular among local musicians. It was here one fateful night when Gavin and Allison crossed paths. According to Gavin, he was, quote, struck by her beautiful voice and stunning face, end quote. Allison noticed Gavin that night, too. She made the first move, saying hi, and that she, quote, really enjoyed his set, end quote. And he sort of just grunted back. And now back to the studio with Mitch Madison. Mitch!
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that fantastic report from the Bucktown Pub. I'm hearing now that we're going to Thomas Queenmother once again, over for another correspondence from Britain. Thomas! Thomas?
Yes, Mitch, Thomas Queenmother III here. Did anything happen after that night at the Bucktown Pub? No, not a sausage. Until almost a... What?
No, go ahead.
Nothing happened until almost a year later. Story goes that a group of jolly old mates went out to dinner, Gavin and Allison included, and Gavin thought she was a posh bit of totty. On their first date, they went to Navy Pier and she badgered him to get a fake tattoo. They even posed for a photo under the wedding arch, which Gavin described as strangely prophetic. Gavin went to describe their blossoming relationship, saying, "We have a similar wacky sense of humor, a bunch of musical stuff in common, mutual respect, and we drive each other up the bloomin' wall. All prerequisites for a successful partnership. I'm Thomas Queenmother III, reporting live. Back to you, my old chap."
Thank you, Thomas Queenmother. Now we head back over to Jeffrey Washington, live at Navy Pier.
Yes, I'm here. You are correct, Thomas. A successful partnership indeed. After both entering the relationship with some hesitation, love did conquer all. As Allison describes, quote, by our second date, I knew that this was the guy I was going to marry. Not sure why or how I knew, I just knew, end quote. So the table was set. He just needed to serve up the ring, and he did with glorious results. They returned to Navy Pier for lunch, echoing their first date. He took her to the Tiffany stained glass window exhibit, got on bended knee in front of her favorite piece, and popped the question with a few visual aids. And the rest truly is history. Now let's kick it back to the studio with Mitch Matterson. Mitch!
We return live back from Navy Pier. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that informative report. We're getting recent reports in here that say that Allison had a great time planning the wedding. She was able to balance many things, including school, a full-time job, and the ability to still perform regularly. She once said that once Gavin started helping, things went a lot smoother. We now go back to Jeffrey Washington, reporting live from the reception in Valparaiso, Indiana. Jeffrey!
No, that's fine. Set up over there. That's fine. That's fine. Are we rolling? All right, we're rolling. Mitch, I'm here. I'm here outside the reception hall in Valparaiso, Indiana. It seems the ceremony went off without a hitch, and everyone is inside settling down for a nice meal. I managed to catch up with the parents of the bride, Gail and Larry, and asked them if they had any words for the new couple. Excuse me a second. This is what they had to say. Quote, we wish you both many years of happiness. Remember to show each other respect in all ways. Remain best friends. Hold hands whenever you can and laugh together. Do these things and your love will continue to grow. We love you both and are so happy that you have found each other. You have a very special love. Congratulations on this first day of the rest of your life together, end quote. Moments later, I was able to ask the same of Gavin's parents, Don and Margaret. And although Mr. Kirk replied, quote, I'm not very good at these things, it would be easier for me to make you a weathercock, end quote, they continued, quote, to Gavin and Allison, we wish you both health and happiness for the future together. Remember, there will always be enough for two if one goes without. All our love, Mom and Dad, end quote. Beautiful words, Mitch, on such a beautiful day. I'm Jeffrey Washington reporting live from Valparaiso, Indiana. Back to you.
Beautiful words indeed, Jeffrey. On behalf of the Channel 3 news team, we would all just like to say...
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations!
Congratulations. Now over to Rodney Tinero for the weather update. Rodney.
Thanks much, Mitch. As you can see, we're going to have a lovely weekend as we've got a low pressure front that's working its way northward, and that's going to bring in some wonderful temperatures, huh? Good for grilling. Break out the hamburger patties. Check the propane, huh? Everybody have a good weekend, all right? Thanks. Good night.